Welcome back, watchers and listeners, to the What We Watch podcast, hosted by myself, Natalie, and
Garrett.
we are so glad you decided to join us today, and can't wait to talk about this week's movie, which is Divergent.
It's a big week.
Big week. Fun week. What do you say, Garrett?
It's a funny week. I don't know if I'd call it a fun week, but I'd definitely say it's a
I had a
funny
good
week.
time.
I had a time. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay, well, before we get into talking about the movie, we wanted to do a little segment beforehand, which relates to the movie, where we just talk about our factions. Kind of
hmm
like Hogwarts House is in a way, you know?
Yeah, that actually might come up later in the podcast. Oh.
Okay. Exciting. Um, so my question for you, Garrett, is if you were to go undergo the test. I don't even
Yeah.
know what it's called. If you were to figure out what faction you were in, what
hmm
faction or factions do you think you would be in? Reminder that they are abnegation, which is selflessness,
hmm
amity, which is kindness, candor, which is honesty, dauntless, bravery, and erudite, which is intelligence.
hmm So when we had talked about this, you said not to take any tests online because they're lame and to just do it yourself, like think about it yourself. Much
But then
like
did you
our
take.
protagonist Triss does, how she chooses her own faction. So
But
I
did you
was
take them
doing that.
anyways?
I did, yes, but it was
Oh,
because
lame.
I couldn't figure out like I definitely don't want to be. I don't know their names, so I'm just going to talk about the top or like the
What
emotion,
they
I
are.
guess, the action. Yeah, I would love to say I'm selfless, and I think like to some extent that's true, but I also would not want to live how they live because they live horrible lives as we see in this movie, and people hate them for reasons that I don't understand. But I wouldn't want to be them. I don't think I'm like, I don't know, smart enough to be in the smart people group. I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not quote unquote cool enough for Dauntless, and
I
I
could not picture you in Dauntless.
no, and I don't think I'm in Candor, which is like the what is it again? What's the
Honesty.
honesty? Definitely not. So I couldn't decide. That's why I went online and I did two tests. One of them was just like a random, seemed legit type test, and it gave me candor, and I was like, I don't know about that. The more I've thought about
He's
it,
honest.
I'm like, okay, I guess that kind of like of all of them, I feel like that fits me the most, but I'm not like, not that I'm a lying person per se, but I don't feel like I'm always honest. So I
Yeah.
went to, the paradigm of knowledge, BuzzFeed.
BuzzFeed.
Yeah, and I did, I did their test, and at the very end, I didn't even know this was an option. They called me factionless, which essentially says that I'm homeless.
You didn't pick up on that in the movie that you can get kicked out of your faction and be homeless.
Like I picked up on that in the movie, but I thought BuzzFeed was
You
like
didn't know
that
that that
wasn't
was
an
an
option.
option.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
fair.
thought they were going to tell me I'm divergent or something, but
You're not
guess
even
not.
divergent. You're just
No.
factionless. You
Yeah.
don't fit into any of the categories. You would pick one and then you would get kicked
Get
out.
kicked out. Yeah.
Um, okay, well, on top of that, like, based off of what you know with the factions, what would you choose in your choosing ceremony? Like, where would you go? Where do
Yeah.
you think you would be born into? And then, like,
Ooh.
would you stay in that or would you choose to go to another one?
What at what age do you do the test? Did they ever say?
That is a great question. Let me look it up. The choosing ceremony, Divergent. 16. You do,
16.
yeah. Wait. Ceremony takes place in the the day after you do your aptitude test. But I'm a little bit confused because Triss and her brother do it at the same time.
And are they not the same age?
I'm not sure that they're. I mean, I don't think they're twins.
Yeah.
But
Let's just
just
say like
add it to the
16
list of
years old.
add it to the
Yeah.
list of plot holes.
Yeah.
Okay, 16.
16. So I think I'd probably be born into, I don't know, maybe Candor, I guess. I feel like
I
my
think that
parents
that's
are
yeah.
pretty honest, pretty smart, just like not necessarily like, the whatever the wise thing was, but I feel like they're pretty straight up people, like how I imagine Candor. So I feel like I'd be born
Yeah.
into that. And then knowing myself at 16 and knowing my susceptible mindset, I think I'd probably choose Dauntless and then promptly get kicked out in like the first few days, like not even make it to the elimination round. Like I just get kicked out and end up factionless.
I love it.
Yeah. You love that? You love that I'd be homeless?
No, I love that that's your answer. I think that that's great.
All right,
Or would you be like, what's his name? Is his name Al? Is it Al that ends up at like the bottom?
oh yeah,
And then he tries to
kill my friend.
And then he's like, actually, no, I'm gonna kill myself. Sorry, heavy topic, but poor Al. I think that's
Poor
Al,
Al.
or is it Will?
It's Al.
No,
'cause
she
kills Will. Yeah, at the end.
Okay. Okay.
But
well,
we're getting
I love
ahead of
that.
ourselves. We're getting.
I
Ahead
know.
of
Getting
ourselves.
whoa.
So for you, Natalie, what faction would you put yourself in?
I think that I would be born. Okay, now I have to look at them again. I think I would be born in maybe. I think honesty. I think Candor. I think that's a good place for both of us to be born, just because we have similar families and upbringings.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think maybe that's a good place where I would start. I do think that in my aptitude test that I would be Divergent.
I'm just the main character.
Well, I don't you think, but that's the whole point of the movie is that everybody's Divergent. Right?
That's the whole point of the movie? Okay.
Well, that's the whole point of like the idea of it is that like they're trying to put these people into these boxes, but people aren't like that.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I have some issues with the plot. I'll talk about this right now.
We'll talk about that later.
I'll talk about it later. But I think the factions, which I guess that's the point now that you pointed out, the factions are so specific to like.
They
for example,
are. That's why it's kind of hard.
Like in like the Hogwarts houses, they're like pretty like open. Like Gryffindor's like bravery, but that's like that's pretty general. Hufflepuff loyalty, all those like different types of things. They're pretty general. Like there's a lot of other emotions and actions and stuff like that it's a kind of a blanket statement. Whereas this is like honest selflessness. Like it's very like specific.
It's very
things.
Yeah, it is kind of specific.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, back to my point. I would be Divergent. I would not be factionless like you over here. And I think that I would be like maybe similar to Triss. I think Triss is kind of interesting because her parents, like her mom is Dauntless, and then I think her dad is Abnegation. Or no,
I believe so.
Yeah, her dad is either Abnegation or he was
the smart people
smart people one.
Yeah.
And then they both went to Abnegation. And so then that makes sense. Like it's like, okay, yeah, you would be all three because that's kind of like what your upbringing would be. So I don't know necessarily what I'd be, but I think maybe like the honest and I don't know. I'd be all of them.
Aren't we all of them? I guess.
We are
You bring
all
up
of
a
them.
good point.
Yeah, and then I think I'd probably be born into Candor, and then I'd probably choose kindness, like Amity, because I think that they live the best life.
Yeah, they're just
You don't
chill.
see them in this movie, but
No.
they just vibe. They're on the outskirts. They're like farm people.
Yeah.
And I think in the second movie you see them a little bit. But yeah, I would just be chilling. with the fam, you know, being kind to everybody. Even though that's not really me, but I just think that they get the best life.
They're like, continuing with the Harry Potter comparison, they're like the Hufflepuffs in the sense that they just like chill.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like it's like nobody has beef with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
They're just
that's
the
what I would
normal people.
choose. Because I wouldn't want to I don't think I could survive Dauntless. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
brave enough for that. And also, there's just so many problems there. But, and I'm not always honest. I'm definitely
Mm-hmm.
not selfless. I think about myself way too often. And I don't think I'm smart enough to be erudite. But Amity, I could chill. I could chill there.
Yeah,
So
I see it. I respect it.
that's my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could go undercover a little bit in Amity and like people wouldn't try to
That's
kick you
true.
out if you were different because they're kind.
Mm-hmm. And you're
I
just,
don't. I think that's foolproof. Like it's like you won't become factionless if you choose
that's
Amity.
true. That's true. I didn't even think about that. Dang.
Well, should we get into the movie
We
a little
shall.
bit deeper?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Well, I'll just do a little description. I know we've been talking about the movie already, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure most people have seen this movie or at least know a little bit about what it's about. But to a quick Chat GPT summary, in Divergent, society is divided into 5 factions based on human virtues. Abnegation is selflessness, amity, kindness. Candor is honesty, dauntless, bravery, and erudite intelligence. Triss Pryor discovers she is divergent, meaning she embodies traits from multiple factions, making her a threat to the rigid system. With the help of 4, she fights against Erudite's plan to control the population through mind control. Pretty much what goes on in this movie.
A lot happens.
A lot happens, but very
But
little
nothing
at
happens.
the same time. Yes. This also, I don't know if you know this, Garrett, is set in Chicago. It says it very briefly at the beginning of the movie.
I saw what I thought was that famous Chicago bridge, but I couldn't tell if it was actually Chicago or not. That's cool.
'Tis Chicago in the future, when after apparently there's like a war or something.
Yeah. After apparently there's a war or something.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know what happens in these kinds of movies where they're just, what are these called again?
Dystopian movies.
Dystopian movies. My favorite genre. How could I forget? Okay, so, Garrett, let's talk about plot first. Again, reminder, if this is your first time listening to our podcast, we talk about the following categories: plot, our favorite and least favorite scene, character, aesthetic, music, entertainment value, and the best time to watch. And we give most of these categories a grade based off of our ranking system, which is popcorn buckets. So, small, medium, large, extra large popcorn buckets is kind of our way to decide whether it is objectively good. And then the butter is whether we like it personally or not. So, and we give it like light butter, no butter, regular amount of butter, extra butter.
Overflowing, yeah.
Overflowing, as much butter as you can. So, that's kind of how the grading system works. So, getting right into it, plot-wise, Garrett, what do you think?
Natalie, I need to begin by saying I have not read the books, so my opinion is based solely on just watching this movie. I haven't seen the other ones. I heard they're terrible. I've seen this one before. And like I said, I can't remember if this was in the episode or if I cut it out. Of all the dystopian era movies, Hunger Games, Maze Runner, those types of movies, when we were back like 10 years ago when that was the thing, Divergent has always been my least favorite. So I went into this movie, this rewatch, with an open mind, trying to say like, okay, maybe it's better than this. Like, maybe I've been too harsh on it. I'm not. If anything, I'm not harsh enough on this movie. I gave this movie, the plot, a small bucket with butter. So objectively,
with butter though.
And I'll get into why. But objectively, I think, kind of like we were talking about, I almost put empty bucket, but then I was like, it has something. It has a plot. but I think this is like the most young adult novel to ever young adult novel.
True.
It's so funny. Um, but that being said, the world building in this movie is absolutely terrible, like awful. The factions seem like so pointless apart from Dauntless and the Gray One. Like you said, they're not really explored enough. Like Candor or whatever, we barely see it, or not Candor.
Which
What's
I
the
think,
is it
yeah,
No,
like
Amity.
Candor
Yeah.
and Amity. Well, you don't really see Candor either. The
Yeah.
thing is that you really only see Abnegation and Dauntless, which
Yeah.
makes sense since like the point of view is from
Those two the most.
Triss.
Yeah.
But I fully agree. They're not fleshed out enough. You do see
Mm-hmm.
them in the later movies, but those are irrelevant. This is the only good one. If there even is a good one.
Yeah. And like I was saying earlier, Harry Potter does a similar type thing with its houses and how it sorts them into houses and stuff. But I think it kind of gets away with it more. I don't like necessarily the idea of sorting people into specific houses based on like traits that they have or factions. But Harry Potter starts out as a kid's story. You know, it has to be like, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the story progresses, as the books and movies go, they add more nuance to it, which granted, like this is the first movie, but this is also for an older audience. And there's like, I don't know, they're just goofy, specifically Dauntless, which is like the most hilarious faction I think I've ever seen in any faction type story ever. We do parkour and
Please
we jump off
explain.
trains and we shoot guns and we're all super hot. Like, it's just so funny.
No, it really is funny. I read a Letterboxd review that said that the Dauntless faction is for the kids who took PE too seriously in school.
Literally, yeah.
Like,
exactly.
it's totally dumb. I think the whole idea of it, like, because I agree. I feel like this movie is not good. Like, I gave it a medium bucket purely just because, like, for myself, because I thought that this was the most mind-blowing thing that could ever happen when I was 13 years old. And I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen, I've ever read. But I fully agree. Like, it is not a great, not fleshed out movie. Plot holes everywhere. Dauntless is so goofy. Like, it's just like, what is going on? They just go and like their fighting stances kill me. The weird elbows.
The papa or whatever.
Papa. Yeah. And then
this movie's so good.
See, it's good. It's entertaining.
But
it's bad. But it's
yes,
bad.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, just like what's his face, Eric, with like his tattoos, and he's like supposed to be this
we'll
tough
talk about
guy.
Eric. We'll talk about.
We're gonna talk about Eric.
Yeah.
And like their training and like whatever their whole system is, like it's just ridiculous. But I eat it up. So, I mean, sorry to cut you off, but I'll just say I gave it medium bucket with extra butter because I eat this stuff up.
Yeah.
And I have, because I think it's also nostalgia. Like I said, I mean, I kind of said this earlier to you, Garrett, before we started recording, but I just think that it is a 2014 time capsule.
Definitely.
It's just like, it takes me back to I remember going to the theater to like for this movie with Marin, our cousin, and her friend Sydney, and we like literally dressed up. I like, you know how like that's a thing kind of right now where you dress up for like the movie you're going to see, like Barbie movie, it was big. But like we dressed up
for the Minions movie and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Nobody was really doing that for this movie, but we did. And I wore like all black because I was like, I'm Dauntless, I'm the main character, I'm Triss. Even though that's not me at all. And it was just like, it was such a peak time in my life for like
nostalgia and stuff like
nostalgia and all that.
Yeah.
But it really is goofy. But tell me more about your plot breakdown.
Definitely. I think something that you said earlier, which I feel validated in as someone who, because you've read the books, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I mean,
yes.
Okay, actually, to be fair, I think I've only read the first one.
Okay.
I don't think I read past that.
Okay. But even still, I feel validation in the sense that you said that there was a war or something that happened. Like, you don't even really know what that is because
I'm like, I don't know what it was.
yeah, I don't know what that is. Like, what the heck is the wall for? Like, yeah, it's for a war, but like, what war? What was the fight? Why haven't they rebuilt the city? Like, why is it still all decrepit and stuff?
Yeah.
Because it seems like they have the materials when she goes and visits her brother at like the smart place or what, I can't remember what that faction is called.
Erudite.
They have, Erudite. They have, their campus is super nice and it's all like modern and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it seems that they
Looks
have
like
the materials.
Apple or something.
Yeah, exactly. And because you think about the two big ones that I've mentioned already, like Hunger Games and Maze Runner. In both those movies, the first movie and first book of both of those series, because I've read and watched the first book and movie of those series, you learn what the point is, if I remember correctly, in Maze Runner anyways. Like, by the end, they discover they were put there because of a virus that turned humanity into like monsters and zombies and stuff, and they're the cure for it somehow. You know why they're in there. Hunger Games, you learn about the war between the districts and how the capital rose up and why we have the games and all this. Like, you understand the world.
Yeah.
Here, there's none of that.
No.
There's no explanation for what happened besides there was a war.
No explanation or why we have chosen to do it the way that we have.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, I genuinely don't know if you get any clarification moving forward, because I didn't read past this book, if I'm remembering correctly. And I think I saw the second movie and maybe the third one, but I could not tell you a single thing that happens in it. Except for that Triss cuts her hair.
Yeah.
Like,
and
literally.
She has the funny Shailene Woodley scream.
Yes.
Yeah.
The one thing that I do want to say about this, what is the author of this book? What is her name? I need to look it up. Because I think she wrote this book when she was 18, if I'm correct. Yeah, Veronica Roth.
That adds up.
She wrote this book when she was 18, and she wrote this book not knowing how she wanted to end it. Like, how she wanted to end the series.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot more sense
Definitely.
like, knowing that. Because it's like, where is this supposed to be going? What's the point? And the author didn't even know. So that just tells you a lot about this world in general. And then I know for sure that at the end of the series, Triss dies.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Which I don't even know, like, how it happens or what goes on. They didn't even finish the movies because they were going to split the third one into 2 movies. And the second one never got made because they flopped so hard. And so, like, it's just laughable. But I eat it up. Here's something you should know about me, Garrett, is that pretty much every dystopian book turned movie adaptation I have gone and seen, like, in the theaters.
Really?
Like, I love it. I eat it up. Like, I don't know if you've even heard any of these. Fifth Wave, Darkest Minds. What are some other ones that I've seen? That one that was, like, weird with Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland.
I can't remember what it's
Watched
called.
That one.
Yeah.
Like, and I saw these in the theater. Like, I go and I watch them in the theater because something about this genre just gets me. And they're always awful, but there's always like this like romance in it that I'm just like, I have to watch it. They're in this world, this fallen world, and there's some sort of romance in it, and I'm always eating it up.
Exactly. Like, that's I think I can't remember if this was later in my notes, but I love the romance in this movie because of how hilarious it is, because it's solely based on which we'll get to him, but touching Triss in like strong manly ways, or like he like grabs her before she falls, or he gives her a tip before she fights, and and it's always like they have the close up on him touching her and she's like
it's like the shots from like when you're watching like The Bachelor and they like zoom into like the hand on like their leg or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it takes me out. Good stuff.
Last thing, or I guess last like 2 things I wanted to mention. I'm skipping around here, but
that's okay.
Well, I guess the thing that you said of the point is like, isn't everybody divergent? That makes more sense to me now that you point that out, because at the end I was thinking, I thought divergents were supposed to be rare, but like super super rare, but we know of at least like 5 in this movie with
Yeah.
Triss, her mom, for that one dude who gets killed in Dauntless,
Yep.
who like just random guy, and I can't remember who the last one was, or that tattoo lady's brother or whatever.
Brother, yeah.
And so if that's the case, like, oh, I guess everybody's supposed to be divergent. But if everybody's divergent, why doesn't everybody not get susceptible to the mind control at the end? Which also, it seems like this movie is setting up with the themes of like indoctrination and what humanity does when it's pushed to the like into desperation with her friend who wants like is going to kill her rather than just become factionless and stuff. But if that's the case, why does it just end up being mind control at the end? Like they didn't get indoctrinated, they just got mind controlled. So there's so many things that are just like, what? But that's why this movie is so good. That's why I gave this butter still, because it's freaking hilarious. Like credit where credit is due. I do think the fear test is pretty cool. I think they
Yeah.
could have done cooler stuff with it. It's relatively tame in the sense of they could have gotten weird, which I wanted them to.
Yeah. Yeah.
The capture the flag
Which
is
it
neat.
could get weird. I know that
Yeah.
they had like in the book there I remember like very kind of like it's very iffy. But I do think that like one of them was afraid of like bugs or something.
Yeah.
And so like they came out like and they're like they were like crawling on him and stuff. And like the fear test, I think if we had like gone into it a little bit more with some of the other whatever
Yeah.
tributes, I don't know what to call them. I'm like Hunger Games is in my brain. But the other like Dauntless, I think that it could have gotten weird. I just think that Four and Triss's fears are pretty mild.
Pretty self-explanatory.
And those are the
pretty,
only
like,
ones you see.
Yeah.
Because like that that one girl comes out of like the fear testing and she's like about
She's
to
like messed
die.
up the rest of the
Yeah.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Like she's like done. So it could have gotten weird. And I do think that that's really cool. I think the aptitude test is really cool too.
Yeah. I like the aptitude test is like strange and weird, and I like that about it. It was just like,
Yeah.
what's going on? And that
The
was
dog.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
What were you saying about
Uh,
capture the flag?
yeah, I think that's cool, but I eat up capture the flag type scenario in any movie or story.
Yeah,
like Percy
like
Jackson. Does
Percy
it really
Jackson,
well.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love Percy
Like
Jackson.
I love those.
Yeah. And honestly, capture the flag, I think they could have done it better in this movie.
Yeah.
Like
It could have been longer.
It could have
yeah.
been longer. It could have been more interesting, but they were, their runtime was a little,
Yeah.
who knows, a little
'Cause
iffy. They
they-
were like, we got to cut down.
They climb the Ferris wheel, and then she's like, "There it is," and then they
There
just
it
like,
is, and then it's
clean
done.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's no actual stakes to it. They like everybody on their team doesn't even like barely all the important people don't get hit, but it was still fun. Like I
Yeah.
like the whole guns that weren't guns thing. That was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it's a fun idea. What did
and
you think
then-
about the zip line?
Okay, that actually I think I was debating on putting that in my favorite scenes because of it's hilarious, but I also do kind of like that scene.
Yeah.
Because that zip line is just cool.
Well, I also just think of like Dauntless as adrenaline junkies.
For
So
sure,
I'm just
yeah.
like, okay, yeah, go zipline after
Yeah.
you win capture the flag. And it's silly and it's dumb. Like just how it's dumb and weird that they all just randomly will go get tattoos out of nowhere. But like it makes them cool, you know? Like that's
Yeah.
the whole point. They're like, we're sick. Like we're different. We're gonna go out and just get tattoos whenever we want. And you know
They're
what?
just
We're
Hot
gonna go
Topic
ride
kids.
a zip line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they're hot topic.
They're just Hot Topic kids. And the last like 2 things that I think I will say are pretty good, like or at least had potential, was I really like the family stuff. For the little we see of it, I do really like it. And then, like I said, the themes and ideas of like indoctrination and freedom of choice and stuff, I think are really compelling, but they've just been done so much better in other movies and stories like this. And this one doesn't even commit to it. So it was
Yeah.
good. Or like those ideas are interesting, but yeah, overall, the reason why I enjoyed this to some extent was because of how freaking hilarious it was, which leads us into our favorite scenes.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay.
What was your favorite scene?
So it's funny. I talked about how the funny stuff when I'm gonna dial it back, and my actual like legit favorite scenes that I think are good. Trish's mom's death is pretty good because for the first time in like the movie, Shailene Woodley like acts,
Yeah.
and it's almost like abrupt in the sense of whoa, this got like really serious and sad out of nowhere. And I really
Yeah.
like that scene and how she has to leave her behind and she's just so emotional. I thought that was really good. I love the family's like final hugs before the like deciding ceremony or whatever it was called. I like that. Like I said, capture the flag is fun. And then this is a moment that I laughed at, but it's supposed to be funny, which is the yeah, stiff, take it off.
Take it off. Put
Put
it
it
back
back on.
on.
So funny.
I know. Can you even believe
Um,
that Miles Teller's in this
Miles
movie?
Teller, Zoe Kravitz, like there's good
There,
Kate
yeah,
Winslet, there's good actors in this movie, but and they do good jobs with what they're given. But some of my other favorite scenes are when Dauntless jumps out of the train for the tests for the first time because the camera and the music that plays and stuff, it's just like these are the cool kids, like they're so
yeah,
epic, they're like doing barrel rolls off the train.
yeah. They're
It's
like
so
jumping
funny.
off of stuff.
When I watched this today by myself because nobody else wanted to watch this movie with me, but I watched this and I was kind of bored up until that scene where I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be funny.
Yeah,
um Anytime Eric is on screen, freaking goofy ass character, what the
the
dude,
worst, like the worst villain that ever
he's
tried to be
so
a villain.
dumb, but he's hilarious. And then my last favorite scene is my name is Four. What?
Why?
Because it just, I've totally forgot about that. Had forgot that his name was Four, and it just caught me so off guard. Where he goes, they're like, "What's your name?" And he goes, "My name is Four." And I was so caught off guard by it, but that I just out loud laughed to my like in a room by myself,
That is
and
taking me
had to
out.
go back and watch it a few times because it's like, what? And then the way they explain his name, it's like, oh, Four Fears. It's still pretty stupid, but that's why it's great.
Hey,
That's why it's funny.
hey,
But
it's the charm.
anyways, before I get into least favorites, what are your favorites?
You know, that is all good stuff. I will say one scene, we kind of talked about like the aptitude fear test. I think those are like big, good scenes
Mm-hmm.
that stick out to me. Capture the flag and I love the song that plays during the zip line. I think it's Sick,
Mm-hmm.
M83 shout out. And then I really like the knife throwing bit
Ooh, I forgot
when
about that. That's a good
when
scene,
yeah, when she's like anybody can stand in front, because that's the whole point of Dauntless. It's like anybody can do this. It doesn't prove anything. It doesn't
yeah.
prove that
Mm-hmm.
we're brave. Like it doesn't, like, what are you trying to do? And that's why Eric is so stupid as a character, because it's like,
Yeah.
what are all these stupid tests that we're doing? Like
Mm-hmm.
this doesn't prove anything. This isn't helping. They're supposed to be like the military. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not like,
This is a
what are we
terrible
doing?
military. Yeah.
What are we doing? Like, there's not the military, but like the police of the city.
Yeah.
Like, who knows what they're actually supposed to be? But I'm like, these are supposed to be our protectors, and they're like doing nothing. Like, what is happening?
Getting
So
tattoos, Natalie. You missed the
they're
point.
getting tattoos.
Yeah.
Like, they're sick. But yeah. So but I do think that that was a cool part where she like stands up and is like, anybody can stand in front of a board and get knives thrown at them. It doesn't mean anything. And then he's like, go stand. And then I think it's interesting with Four how he's like, well, I had to nick you a little bit or else
Yeah.
like I wasn't gonna end.
Mhm.
And she's all pissed because she's like,
You cut me.
you cut me. And he's like, get over it. So yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes. I have always liked that scene since I was little,
Mm-hmm.
a wee child.
A little lass.
Yes. So, my least favorite scenes, I didn't actually come up with one. Maybe it's just, oh, actually I do have one.
Mm-hmm.
When, I think it's so stupid, when her dad, like, sacrifices himself.
Oh, yeah. It's so abrupt.
It's so abrupt, out of nowhere. He's like, no time to waste. Goes out, gets shot, and then he's
Yeah.
like, he dies, and she, like, just mourned her mom, like, so heavily, and then her dad dies. And maybe it's because, like, everything is happening so fast, and she's just,
Yeah.
like, doesn't know what to do with herself, but then she's just like, my dad died, and moves on.
Exactly. And I think I talked about how the mom's death being abrupt was cool. Like, I like that because it was like, whoa, this is actually real. Like, there
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
stakes. But the dad's death doesn't feel like that at all because
No.
it's just like, that was pointless. Why did you do that?
Well, and it's also, it makes no sense to have both of them die.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
It doesn't.
I It's not adding
Yeah.
any value to have both of her parents die.
No. It's just
We
like, oh
could
man,
have had,
her life sucks.
well, and he could have like sacrificed himself in a different way without death.
Yeah. Like, it's captured or something.
Yeah, exactly, where it's maybe a little bit different, because I think maybe the point that they were trying to do was so that they would kind of just be on their own go when they escape or whatever, so that I don't know, I really don't know what the point is, because yeah, like she has the heaviness of her mom's death and then just moves on, and then not to mention that she kills Will,
Yeah.
and so she's dealing with so much all at once,
That maybe
and then
she
they're
just
like leaving.
yeah.
And so I just feel like his death wasn't impactful or meaningful or necessary.
Definitely, I think pointless, at least in terms of the first movie from what we've seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, my least favorite scenes are Thor's trauma. I think could have been explored way more than it actually is.
Yeah.
It's mentioned early in the movie, and then there's obviously the fear scene, and then just very brief interactions with him and his dad at the very end. I think they could have gone way more into that. Not that I wanted to see this kid be abused by his dad or anything,
No,
but
yeah.
just what that's done to him. Like, when him and his dad meet again, if there's barely any like tension there.
Yeah.
So I feel like we could have done better with that. I think Caleb's off-screen redemption could have been much better. Her brother, because when she goes to him the first time, he's like, no, like, the society's right. They suck. Like, they're controlling the government and whatever I keep forgetting the stupid faction names. Their original faction.
Abnegation.
He's he's been indoctrinated. And then off screen, he's like, wait, what? And then shows up at the very end and he's like, you were right the whole time. I'm so sorry. We should have seen that. We should have seen the moment when he realizes that. But last of my least favorite scenes, ironically, first time this has ever happened, is I said some of my favorite scenes are anytime as Erica is on screen, and my least favorite scenes are also anytime Eric is on screen, because he's funny, but he's also just dumb, and he's a stupid villain.
I think what they could have done better is lean into the fact, like, if Eric and the movie didn't take Eric so seriously, it could have been good.
Yeah.
But he's this goofy character. He doesn't actually look that scary.
No, his design is so dumb. He's just as funny to look at. Yeah.
He's funny to look at. I just think that if they had leaned into the fact that he was kind of goofy and not that serious, and maybe made him more of like a comedic villain than trying to be the scary, intimidating, because he's just a puppet. Yeah. He's not running anything. So why are they like trying? I don't even know what they were trying to do with him, but if they had made him funny, it would have been great.
So much better. Yeah. And you think of it because obviously he's supposed to be a character you hate. You're supposed to hate this guy. But I keep comparing it to other things, which I don't want to keep doing, but
no, that's fine.
Comparing it to, Harry Potter again with Umbridge, a character you're very clearly supposed to hate, but she's a great character. Every time she's on screen, you just want to punch her in the face. Yeah. But that's the point, and she's portrayed really well by the actress and the writing and both the book and the movie and stuff. Like, you hate her, and that's the point. And she serves a purpose in the wider story of she's like untouchable. She's not Voldemort, but she's in the political sphere, and Harry can't do anything about that. She's just untouchable and so annoying, and it makes her a great villain. Whereas Eric is supposed to do that as well. He's supposed to be the hateable guy, but he's just annoying more than he is hateable. He's just like the dude in high school, like you said, who thought he was cooler than he actually was.
Yeah.
and it's just like dumb. Like, why is everybody just listening to this guy? He's stupid. Why does
Yeah.
4 listen
It's
to him?
what no, it's what has this guy done to earn anybody's respect?
Yeah, he's
Because
just dumb.
he's just ridiculous. But yeah, no, Eric is silly.
But Eric
But
is a good
also
segue.
entertaining. But
Yes.
also Miles Teller's character, what is his name again?
Um,
I have it written down.
what is it?
Hold. Because he's also kind of like that.
But he
Peter?
doesn't like Peter, yeah.
But Peter, like, I think he's super entertaining.
Because it's Miles Teller. He does a
Because,
great
well,
job.
it's Miles
Yeah.
Teller. But, like,
Yeah.
he's so hateable, especially in the books, where it's like, dude, this guy actually sucks. And then, but you actually kind of like Peter a little bit in the movie just because of how well Miles Teller does playing him. But anyways, let's keep talking about characters. We'll just keep going with Miles. Well, with Peter, what do you think?
He's like you bring up good points of, you kind of like the guy, but he also sucks. He's like the Draco Malfoy of this world, where you hate him, but he's also just a kid or a teenager or whatever. So he does get somewhat of a pass in terms of he just doesn't really know any better. Whereas Eric knows better and is just an idiot. But this kid is just, he's learning. He's still immature. He's the foil to like their childish games and stuff that they go into. So like it makes sense for him.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, Miles Teller. I love Miles Teller. He does a great job. Whereas Jai Courtney, the guy who plays Eric, I just am not a fan of in anything that he's ever been in. So
I don't even know what else he's been in.
He's been in like one of the Terminators and a couple other like, I don't know if he's really been in, I could be completely wrong, but I don't know if he's actually been in a good movie. But
yeah.
Anyways, overall character and writing, I guess, or character and acting, I gave Small Bucket with no butter. I guess I might change that to with butter just because of how hilarious everybody is. But no character is really given enough time to warrant any real connection, in my opinion. Triss, I think, as a protagonist, is pretty flat up until the very end. But by then, I think we only have 20 minutes with her being a super interesting character, and that goes by so fast. I'm not the biggest Shailene Woodley fan, so that might also contribute. But in my opinion, she's essentially just great value versions of Katniss and Thomas from Maze Runner and Hunger Games. You combine those two characters, I feel like you get Triss, but it's like the boring aspects of both those characters, and you have her. She's not terrible. I think her whole problem of, oh, I'm divergent, I need to hide that, I think is interesting, and I don't think it's necessarily Shailene Woodley's fault. I think it could have been just given more time or handled better, but scenes that really could have been great for her character, for example, when she decides to run after the train even though she's technically supposed to be out. I think a scene where she is in the hospital or in her room and then ultimately like, no, I'm going to go do it anyways, like she decides to do that, would have been really great. Because if I remember, it just kind of hard cuts to her running after the train. And I feel like a scene where she got the courage to do that would have been really good.
Or like made the plan or whatever. Like, how much time do I have? Like, can I run? Yeah.
Exactly. Like, not the worst protagonist, like I said. She's fine, but just kind of flat.
Yeah, she is kind of boring. I will say, I'm not sure that it's Shailene Woodley or if it's... But I do think that it is kind of, in her defense... I do think it is kind of that era of just like, she's almost just kind of pick me.
Yeah.
Where
definitely.
She has not a ton of depth, you know? But there's no reason to hate her.
Yeah, there's no reason to like hate or love her.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not necessarily rooting against her. I want her to do good things and succeed. But I do feel like she could have dug a little deeper.
Yeah.
For sure. There could have been a little bit of oomph.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. What do you think of 4?
4, oh man. He like barely gets much characterization. I really like that he has his like fear of heights. I think that's sweet. that's just a fun character.
Humanizes him a little.
Him. It's a fun character fact. Like, I enjoy that, and I wish we got more of that type of stuff. And like I said, the stuff about his fat past could have been focused on a lot more, because I think on paper, 4 should be my favorite character of this movie, just because I really enjoy similar characters. And I think he's fine. I like the actor. I can't remember his name. I think he's cool. Theo James. I think he's really cool. His tattoo reveal is freaking hilarious. That whole scene when they kiss for the first time, and she's like, "What's your tattoo?" And he takes off his shirt, and he goes through all the logos, and he's like, "I'm still working.
Honest and
I'm still working. I want to be brave.
I'm still working on kindness."
So funny.
It's so good.
And I think his chemistry with Triss, it's not bad, but it's kind of nothing. Their romance, like I said, revolves around him touching her or giving tips on what to do for this test. There's not really many scenes where they actually genuinely connect besides the tattoo scene.
Yeah. Which, again, in defense, because that's what I'm here for,
of course,
is I think that 4 as a character is a little hard to portray in a movie, because he's trying to, he is her, like, superior. And he can't really, like, choose favorites because of the whole, like, grading system or whatever. But, like, he clearly, like, feels things for her, and that's kind of where I think the, like, little touches and things are what they're supposed to be saying.
Yeah.
Is like, okay, actually I care about you, but it really just comes off as, like, I don't know, just, like, there to be there.
Yeah.
And, like, and that's why he, like, helps her and stuff and, like, whatever. But it feels like it kind of moves a little fast, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, we like each other. And it turns really quickly too, because I think he, like, tries to play it cool for so long, and he's like, you can't talk to me. What makes you think you can talk to me? And then they have, like, these, like, little moments that it's like, wait, what is going on? Like, is there supposed to be something there? And then it's kind of confusing until he saves her from getting thrown off a cliff, and then he's like, oh, now let me take care of you.
Yeah.
He's
the classic dystopian, or I guess not necessarily dystopian, just the classic young adult novel, mysterious bad boy.
Misunderstood. Like, nobody gets me. I'm, like, nobody can reach me. Like, I have no emotions. Which is, I think you're right. That's why, like, the fear of heights is kind of cool. Is because it's like, oh yeah, like, yeah, you're just a guy that's afraid of heights. You know?
It's fun. It's a cool little detail.
Yeah, it's a fun little detail. I do think I like 4 more than Triss. But I did want Triss's tattoo of the birds.
Oh yeah, the way they get tattoos is interesting. I like
it's sick.
That.
It's like
That's a
like
fun idea.
The little
water tattoo type thing. Yeah.
No, and I wanted it. Do you know what the tattoo is about?
No,
it's her mom and dad and brother.
Oh, where was that detail?
I don't know, but there you go.
Yeah. See, that's a problem with a lot of book to movies. I get adaptations have this problem where you can't really understand the full story unless you've read the books.
Yeah.
I think it's been done obviously where you don't have to. As much as they might shoot me for this, you can watch the Harry Potter movies and understand the entire plot.
Yeah.
You might miss out on some minor details, but you can, as someone who hasn't finished, one day I will, don't shoot me, who hasn't read all of the Harry Potter books, I know the basic plot of at least the movie version. I don't need to know that Hermione sets up this whole foundation for house elves to understand the plot of the franchise.
Yeah.
But something like this, like Divergent, and even Hunger Games to some extent, you don't understand the full story unless you've read the book.
Yeah. There are, like, always these little details that it's like would be really cool. Yeah. Where it's like, okay, if you read it, like, and that's the thing too, is it's like, it's not missing it, because I do think I agree, like, you don't need it to understand the movie. And people who have read the books, it's like, hey, that's cool, and this is because of this. But there were parts like in Hunger Games that I'm like, oh, I wish my family would have read this because it makes this part of the movie so much cooler.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that if I had read Divergent a little bit fresher on my mind, then I probably would have picked out things that are a lot cooler. But yeah, I agree. I do think that it's a problem in book to movie adaptations is that they either don't try hard enough to do it or they just scrap things too fast. I don't know. But
yeah, it's not original to this movie like we're saying.
No, it's
definitely
a lot of
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I haven't even asked what's your official character ranking? As in, what would you give it? Your score?
Yeah, I gave it a medium popcorn bucket once again.
Nice.
Pretty mid. Maybe a small medium. Like, I agree.
Yeah,
I don't think
schmedium.
that there's a lot. Yeah, schmedium. And then I gave it butter. Like, I like all these characters. I have no issue with them. I clearly enjoy this movie. But I do think the characters could use some work. So, that's my thoughts.
It's very funny that we didn't talk about Janine, who's supposed to be the main villain of the story.
Good old
and
Janine.
We almost forgot about her.
Girl is wild. I don't even understand Janine even a little bit.
Yeah, like what are her motivations? What are the reasons
shout
behind
out Kate
those?
Winslet.
Yeah,
I don't think
great
that
actress.
Kate Winslet like does a bad job. I just think Janine sucks.
Yeah, she's Kate Winslet, fantastic actress. Performance is good, but just the writing gives her nothing to really work with.
Yeah. Well, and it's just not well done in the world yet again where you're just, well, why is she the way that she is? What is the actual purpose? Why are they trying to take over Abnegation other than these like random theories about that they're not who they say they are, and it's just a power trip for no reason. And who knows? And yet again, I don't know if it's explained later, but if it is, like, great, maybe we should have explained it in the first movie so that we would care.
Yeah. I'm all for, like, franchises where we don't fully understand or explore the villain until later down the line. But even still, in those types of franchises, you still understand to some extent what their goal is.
But
like
I don't
why
think
they're
she's
doing
in the other movies.
Really?
I'm fully not even capping. Like, I don't even think that she is, like, important past this one.
Yeah. What?
I think that there's some sort of, like, Garrett, I'm not even kidding. This franchise went down fast and hard. Because I don't know what goes on. Because they go outside of the wall
fence,
or whatever. The fence. And then they're with Amity for a while. And then I think there's some other, like, thing. I think they tried to do kind of maybe a Maze Runner type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I'm just mixing it with Maze Runner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have no idea. It is I don't know. Anyways. Yeah. Moving on. Janine sucks.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say about actors and characters. Shout out Miles Teller, Zoe Kravitz. And
yes.
I don't know if I want to shout out Ansel Elgort because I don't know if he's been canceled or not, but if he
definitely
hasn't, then maybe I'll retract that. But
no, I think it's okay because yet again, it's just our 2014 time capsule. Mm-hmm. And Ansel Elgort and Shailene Woodley were the moment.
Mm-hmm. This is pre-cancellation. Yeah.
Pre-cancellation. And honestly, maybe he's redeemed himself. Who knows?
Yeah. We believe in redemption.
Yeah, come on, Ansel. We are hopefully. I don't know what's wrong with you, or why you got canceled.
I can't even remember why you got canceled, but
sending good thoughts.
They'll just wreck us on Twitter, the two people who will listen to this. But let's go to music.
Music, yet again, medium popcorn bucket with butter. Do you see a theme with my rankings?
I do.
I think, again, just brought me right back to middle school. Ellie Goulding doing the soundtrack just ate it up. And then, like, the pops of, like, M83 in there and stuff. It just really brought me back. I like the soundtrack. There's really not much to the score.
Mm-mm.
I mean, there's parts that are fine,
Yeah.
but beating heart at the end credits, you know what? I will say book to movie adaptations do well is having like an artist make a song for them.
Mm.
The Hunger Games did it. Twilight did it for a long time. I think it's like there's a reason why. It's because they're like big, and then they're like, let's get this artist on here and have them make a song.
Yeah.
And because I think for Hunger Games they had Taylor Swift do it a couple times, and then they had one. Was it One Republic? No, it wasn't One Republic. Coldplay maybe. They did a song,
Mm.
and anyways, I think they're really fun when they get little artists to do things, but
Definitely.
not too special. But there are good musical moments in the movie,
Mm.
and the like drum part when they're heading
Classic.
out for Dauntless.
Classic.
Do
That
you like my
is
drums?
nostalgia. Yeah, those are really good drums. Um, I gave music small bucket with no butter. Again, not empty
No
bucket.
butter.
Yes, let me explain. I think the score is serviceable, like you said. It's fine. There's just nothing super noteworthy. But yeah, this movie is not beating the cringy young adult story allegations with some of these needle drops. And it's because I think I've talked about this before. I am not the biggest fan of soundtrack over score in movies.
Mm-hmm.
I think it works sometimes with, I think I've said this before even, but with Guardians of the Galaxy, Baby Driver, shout out Ansel Elgort, those types of movies, I think it works because it makes sense for the story. It has a part to play. And sometimes, yeah, it's good to have, a vibe setter with some sort of soundtrack, some sort of musical cue or whatever. But besides the zip line scene, I think it's just so like it's like we've been talking about. It's just very hot topicy, very young adulty, very dystopian-y, which at one point in my life I'm sure I liked, but I'm not very nostalgic for that. And so it was just kind of like, ugh, brother. And I like these
Yeah.
artists. It's just for this movie, it's just not my thing.
You know
Um,
what?
but yeah, in
Beg
the
to
kiss
differ,
scene,
but
needle drop, very funny. Like
so
that should have
good.
been scored. Like Hunger
Should have been
Games.
scored. I
Hunger Games would
know.
never do that type of stuff. Hunger
I
Games would
know.
never do
Hunger
that.
Games. Hunger Games could never.
Yeah.
They'll do
They
their little their outro music, but they would never put
mhm.
a soundtrack movie a soundtrack song in a scene like that. You're so
Yeah.
right.
And when they do the soundtrack song, for example, in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, it makes sense because it's Lucy Gray's character because she's an artist and it makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
It's like part of the
Which
plot.
isn't even a
But
soundtrack song. That's like a musical.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I see your point, Garrett.
yeah. It just, I'm
Especially if
not
you're not,
nostalgic for that.
especially yeah, if you're not nostalgic for it, then I get it.
Yeah.
I don't hate soundtrack in movies,
Hmm.
because I don't mind when I hear a song and I go, oh my gosh, what is that movie? What is that in? I
Yeah.
want to know what that's in, and you can think of a scene. One of my favorite um, places to go on the internet is TuneFind because
Hmm.
I'll hear a song and then I'm like, that's in something. I need to figure it out right now. And then I'll
Yeah.
Shazam it and then I'll figure it out what it is. And I'm like, that's what it's from. And I love that. But I do think I like soundtrack better in TV shows than
Hmm.
movies. I think soundtrack in TV shows can be super well done.
Yeah, for sure. I think, because like I said, I think there are some
Smallville?
things. Smallville, oh, we, if we talk about Smallville, this will be another hour long, but maybe we'll do a Smallville episode one day. But I know the people would love that. I think, a similar, not necessarily similar, but a TV show that does soundtrack really well is Arcane, which I don't know if you know about, but
Oh, I've never even heard of that.
Arcane is very good. Everybody should watch it. But that has a needle drop every like 30 seconds. It feels like. But
Mm-hmm.
all of those scenes have some sort of story relevance. The song has story relevance. There's
Mm-hmm.
cool animation or whatever during those scenes. So I think that works. With this, it's just I don't know. I
It's
think I've talked my points extensively, but
yeah, no, I get it. That's so funny. But
yeah.
moving on to aesthetic, cinematography, editing, all that. I gave it a again medium popcorn bucket with butter. There definitely needs some work,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think it's that bad.
Mm,
I
yeah.
don't know. There was nothing that like deterred me or drew me in
Yeah.
extensively. So I'm just like, yeah, mid.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe light butter. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. That's why I gave it small bucket. I was debating empty bucket, but I was like, it's fine. Small bucket, no butter. Because I think it's just such a lame and bland dystopia.
It kind of is. Well, and also the thing with it too is that it's with the coloring of each
Mm-hmm.
faction, like we literally have black and
And
gray, and
gray.
that's what we're dealing with the entire movie. And then
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of blue. And then when you get to Candor, I think they're like white.
Gray and yeah, like well, yeah,
Like,
white.
so it's just a very bland color palette. Um, but I mean, I don't think it's awful. It's just kind
Mm-hmm.
of boring.
I think
But
again
the effects are
comparisons.
fine.
The effects are fine, yeah, and Hunger Games has a somewhat similar world of at least like in it could have been bland, which it's not like the most eye popping um, setting in the world, but the capital is interesting to like look at. It has like interesting architecture and stuff. Maze Runner has like the wasteland and the zombie apocalypse world and the desert and stuff like that. That's super interesting. And like you said, this is just gray and kind of nothing.
Yeah, it's just kind of
Um,
there.
I get the point might have been to be bland, but like I said, it's just been done much better in other dystopias.
Yeah.
Cinematography is fine. There's nothing that really stands out. Pretty mid. Um, yeah, amusement park is cool. I like that. The cool
Yeah,
Ferris
yeah,
wheel,
yeah. The Ferris
but
wheel is cool. I like the capture the flag, how it was like shiny.
glowy. Yeah,
Yeah. Like there are cool things about it. Again, the whole I think that they could have done the pit a little bit different to make it more interesting.
yeah. It's just like a rock pit.
Yeah, it's just like a rock or even just like the trains or
Mm,
something, I don't know. There could have been it could have I think the design of the world could have been a little better, but
100%.
I don't know what they would change. Just make it a little more visually appealing, but
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know that that's what they were trying to focus on cuz again, I don't know
Mm,
that they knew what they were trying to focus on, so um we'll give it a pass. It's fine.
yeah.
Okay. Cool. What are we giving it for entertainment value?
For me, I think like I said, I try not to compare movies, but it's in my nature. I just compare movies. And so I think there are much better and much more entertaining movies and shows that handle similar topics and settings that I'd rather watch than this. Like we've talked about, like we've laughed about. It's goofy, it's hilarious, it's very young adult in its tropes and in its world. But after a certain point, like towards the last like 30 minutes, I was done laughing at the movie and I was just like, okay, I'm kind of tired of this.
Like, get on with it.
Um, like it's not the worst thing in the world. And I'm sure if I watched this with people, I would laugh at it and it'd be more entertaining because we could just kind
Mm-hmm.
of make fun of it and stuff the whole time. Um, but yeah, I think thus far, this has been the lamest one for me, but I still enjoyed myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah, that's it.
love it. I think that this is a very entertaining movie.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously chose to pick it, so I wanted to watch it. Um, and watching it now with the lens that I have and needing to know, try to be objective every once in a while and have, actual opinions. It's kind of hard because I'm like, well, I love this movie. It's
Yeah.
entertaining, but I do see that it is very flawed. But do you know what the most entertaining part about it is? is
What?
that there are hot people. And that really has it going for it. Cause
Cut back
imagine
to my pet
imagine there's
peeves or whatever I said in the first episode.
I didn't we cut those?
I can't. Oh yeah, we cut those. I forgot about that.
But yeah, one of Garrett's pet peeves is that when people only watch movies because there's hot people, which is one of the things that I do. And this is definitely the case, and one of the reasons why I find it highly entertaining, because I'm not going to complain to looking at Theo James for 2 hours.
Valid.
Or, I mean, anybody else. Miles Teller, Shailene Woodley, like, she's hot. I don't mind.
I don't
But
mind either.
here's the thing. I do understand that if, like, the thing with this is, though, is that I'm like, this is probably the best you're going to get, though. So, for this story.
Yeah.
So at least they're hot.
At the very least.
At the very least, hot people. And so that gives my entertainment value a good
boost.
4 stars.
Yeah.
4 out of 5.
All right. Winding down here. When do you think is the perfect time to watch this movie?
Oh, what did I say? I actually think that now is a pretty good time to watch this movie. I'm not sure when it originally came out, but I think like end of, just because of like the grayness of the world, like I'm like, kind of is like the end of winter, early spring.
Definitely. I said never watch it. No, I'm kidding.
He said, don't watch this one.
I put the same thing, like end of winter, in winter, end of winter, just because of the gray and weird aesthetic. It's just like, I don't want to watch this in the summer. I want to watch something colorful.
Yeah, I mean, you could watch it in the summer if you wanted to, because it does have like the adventurous type stuff, but I say winter.
Makes sense.
Good times.
And then, Natalie, what is your overall rating? Bucket and butter.
You know, I'm sure y'all guessed it by now, but I'm giving it a medium bucket. And I'm giving it extra butter because love this movie. I will watch it again. I will choose to watch it again. I've probably seen it about 8 times already in my lifetime. Probably more. I've at least seen some scenes more than that. I will continue to like edits on TikTok that from this movie. But it is flawed. It's not the greatest movie. It's very mid. So, medium bucket, extra butter for me. What do you say, Garrett?
Solid. I say I gave it a small bucket with some butter. Like I said, very entertaining, but I think I could live my whole life without watching this movie again, and I'd be fine. I think I wouldn't really mind that. I would love to watch this with people and be able to laugh at it and stuff, but like if I'm with a group of people, I'd rather watch something else. Like there are funnier movies to watch as well. So if it's presented to me in a group setting, I wouldn't necessarily say no, but small bucket with some butter.
Perfect.
Yes,
I hope that you get asked to watch Divergent in a group someday soon, and you can be like, eh.
Yeah.
Well, fun. I think that was a great. We gotta get a good dystopian movie in here. We really do. We will do a Hunger Games podcast.
Yeah.
Probably around this time of the release of the new
the Haymitch movie.
Which I have yet to read, but I'm starting it. So.
I heard it's pretty good.
I've only heard good things.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. But. Wrapping up with Divergent and all of this episode, Garrett, tell us what the next movie we will be watching is.
Yes, ma'am.
And hopefully it's something good. Maybe something we might both like, because we had some differing opinions.
Yeah. I had one picked, and now I don't know. But here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to throw an audible in here, and
Drum roll.
We're going to watch one of my former favorite movies. It still might be one of my favorite movies.
It's like
I just
former.
haven't watched it in literal like I think like 5-6 years. So I don't know if it's on there still. But we are going to watch Marriage Story with Adam
Oh,
Driver and Scarlett Johansson.
okay.
I remember absolutely loving this movie, and it ripped my heart out, and it was so good, and it made me love Adam Driver. So
Am I gonna
we're gonna watch
cry?
Marriage Story. Maybe it's not necessarily like a tear jerky movie. Like nobody dies. Spoil. I mean, that's not really a spoiler. It's not that type of movie, but it is sad to an extent.
Okay. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm ready.
Marriage Story.
Okay. You guys heard it here. Marriage Story. And we will see you guys in a couple weeks to discuss. Thanks for listening. Keep sharing with your friends.
I'll do your yay.
Yay!